What drives a person to destroy something that brings joy to an entire community? In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where summer days were marked by the laughter of children splashing in the community pool, a single act of vengeance unraveled the harmony of our close-knit neighborhood. This is the story of Karen Whitaker, a woman whose rage led to a catastrophe that none of us could have foreseen, and the devastating consequences that followed. It all began on a swelteringly unbearable July afternoon. The Willow Creek Community Pool was the heart of our neighborhood, a shimmering oasis where families gathered to escape the heat. Kids cannonballed into the deep end, parents lounged with iced tea, and the elderly swam laps to stay spry. The pool was more than a recreational spot. It was a symbol of unity, a place where memories were made. I, Emily Harper, had been the pool manager for 6 years, and I took pride in keeping the water crystal clear and the facilities spotless. The filter system, a complex network of pipes and pumps, was my responsibility, and I treated it like a living thing, ensuring it ran smoothly to keep the pool safe for everyone. Karen Whitaker was a newcomer to Willow Creek, moving into a modest ranch-style home just across from the pool. She was in her late 40s, with sharp features and a perpetually pinched expression, as if life had handed her a lemon she couldn't stop biting. At first, she seemed harmless, if a bit standoffish. She'd sit on her porch, sipping coffee, watching the pool-goers with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I tried to be neighborly, inviting her to join the community swim nights, but she'd always decline with a curt nod. "Not my scene," she'd say, her voice clipped. Trouble started brewing when Karen began lodging complaints. The pool was too loud, she claimed. The kids' laughter grated on her nerves. The chlorine smell wafted into her yard, ruining her roses. I listened patiently, explaining that the pool was a shared space, built and maintained by the Homeowners Association for everyone's benefit. I offered to adjust the pump schedules to reduce noise, but nothing satisfied her. Her complaints escalated, flooding the HOA's inbox with emails demanding the pool's closure. When the board rejected her requests, citing the overwhelming support for the pool, Karen's demeanor shifted from annoyed to venomous. One evening, as I was locking up the pool house, I caught Karen standing by the fence, staring at the water with a strange glint in her eye. "You'll regret ignoring me," she muttered, barely audible. I brushed it off, chalking it up to frustration, but a knot of unease settled in my stomach. Little did I know that moment was the calm before the storm. The next morning, I arrived at the pool to a scene of chaos. The water was cloudy, tinged with an unnatural yellow hue, and a sharp, chemical odor hung in the air. The filter system, usually humming steadily, was silent. My heart sank as I rushed to the equipment room. The main filter tank was corroded, its insides coated with a gritty, white residue. Bleach, gallons of it. Someone had deliberately poured industrial-strength bleach into the system, destroying the delicate balance of chemicals and frying the machinery. The repair estimate was staggering: $200,000 to replace the entire system. The pool would be unusable for months. The community was outraged. Parents were furious, kids were heartbroken, and the HOA scrambled to find answers. Security footage from a nearby camera revealed the culprit: Karen, sneaking into the pool area at 2 a.m. with jugs of bleach, her face twisted with determination. When confronted, she didn't deny it. "You people never listened," she spat at the HOA meeting, her voice trembling with defiance. "That pool was a nuisance, and I did what I had to do." But the story didn't end there. Enter Marcus Tate, a quiet widower who lived 2 streets over. Marcus was an unassuming man in his 60s, always seen tending his garden or reading on his porch. He rarely attended HOA meetings, but that night he stood up, his hands shaking as he clutched a folded piece of paper. "I have something to say," he began, his voice soft but steady. The room fell silent. Marcus revealed that Karen had approached him weeks earlier, asking for his support in shutting down the pool. When he refused, she'd threatened to make life hell for him too. Then, in a twist that left us all stunned, Marcus produced a letter Karen had slipped under his door, a letter confessing her plan to sabotage the pool and begging him not to tell anyone. She'd written it in a moment of guilt, perhaps hoping to clear her conscience. But Marcus, torn between loyalty to the community and pity for her, had kept it secret until now. The letter was the final nail in Karen's coffin. The HO pressed charges, and the court case was swift and merciless. Karen was fined $200,000 to cover the damages and ordered to oversee the rebuilding of the filter system, a task she had no expertise to handle. The judge's ruling was clear. She would bear the financial and logistical burden of her actions. But the true cost was far greater than money. As the trial unfolded, whispers spread about Karen's past. She'd moved to Willow Creek after a bitter divorce, her ex-husband citing her uncontrollable temper in court documents. Neighbors began to piece together her story. A woman consumed by resentment, lashing out at a community she felt had rejected her. Yet, even as her actions were indefensible, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. Karen wasn't a monster. She was a person broken by her own pain, unable to find a way to heal. The pool remained closed for the rest of the summer. Families found other ways to cope: backyard sprinklers, trips to the lake, but the loss of our gathering place left a void. Kids stopped playing together as often. Neighbors drifted apart. The sense of community we'd taken for granted began to fray. I'd walk past Karen's house, now eerily quiet, and wonder what could have been different. If we'd reached out more, listened better, would she have felt less alone? Would she have chosen a different path? Months later, the new filter system was installed, paid for by Karen's fine and overseen by a team of contractors she was forced to hire. The pool reopened, but the joy wasn't the same. The water sparkled, but the laughter felt hollow. Karen had moved away, her house sold to a young couple with a toddler who loved to splash in the shallows. I saw Marcus at the reopening, standing alone by the fence, his eyes distant. "I should have spoken up sooner," he said quietly when I approached. "Maybe I could have stopped her." I didn't know what to say. Guilt, it seemed, was a burden we all carried in different ways. The court's ruling was meant to deliver justice, but it left a bitter taste. Karen's punishment was severe financial ruin, public humiliation, and exile from the community she'd never truly joined. Yet the victory felt empty. The pool was back, but the trust, the warmth, the sense of belonging, it was all tainted. I realized then that some damages can't be measured in dollars or fixed with new machinery. Karen's act of destruction had broken more than the pool. It had fractured the fragile bonds that held us together. As I locked up the pool house on the first night of the reopening, I looked out at the water, reflecting the moonlight in perfect stillness. I thought of Karen, alone somewhere, carrying the weight of her choices. I thought of Marcus, haunted by his silence. And I thought of all of us trying to rebuild not just a system, but a community. The price of her actions was more than $200,000. It was the innocence of a place we'd once called home. ND.